Assalamu alaikum. So, want to just sort of follow up on what I mean by a positive European or white Muslim identity, in that, um, you know, uh, when we look at Muslims across the world, they have a very strong sense of their cultural identity. They're proud to be Muslim. They look up to their national heroes. Whether that be, let's say, for example, Somalians, they look up to, say, for example, Kanan, the singer. When we look at the African American community, absolutely. I mean, Muhammad Ali is probably the most well-known human being in the entire world, and what he was able to accomplish, is definitely something very admirable. I mean, even white people I know who are leery about Islam altogether, they love Muhammad Ali and they know his entire biography. So someone like that, really, drives it home that, it gives African American Muslims a very positive identity, and, makes it a lot easier for them to get acclimated into being a Muslim. It's someone that they can look up to. But when it comes to Europeans, there are single, Europeans here and there, um, that may have converted, that we know, that people know about. And even though their stories are amazing, they're not really seen as a reformer or someone who changed the culture, um, to make, a white Muslim identity something fathomable or tangible, really. When we look at, like, say, for example, Yusuf Islam or Cat Stevens, like when he converted to Islam, a lot of people just thought he was a traitor, especially because of his Greek background. And even the European converts to Islam, back in the medieval period, were known as the renegados or the renegades, where they just completely changed teams and went to the other side. Whereas for other communities, even for the Latino Muslim community, for them, converting to Islam is quote unquote getting back to their roots. There's an exception to this. I mean, the traditionalists, we look at Rene Gounod, Frithjof Schuon, Martin Lings, they tried to establish this. Like, they tried to, they were basically traditionalists and perennialists, and those beliefs are kind of heretical to Islam. But a lot of them eventually um, ended up going more and more towards the traditional tenets of Islam. But they sent out letters to other Europeans and saying that they should convert to Islam, and this is what Gounod actually recommended that Europe actually do, to save the fall and decline of the West. And they didn't heed his advice, obviously, and that's what we see now in 2020. And this has been coming for a long time. Technology, just basically with big tech, it's basically turned the West into like an empty center, where the only thing that really matters is the GDP and how much money you make and all the gadgets that you buy, and 25 different flavors of Kit Kats. I mean, it really, it just has an empty center where there's just no meaning to your life, right? So, they tried to establish that, but, there's really never been any type of attempt to, create a kind of a collective white Muslim identity until recently, really. I mean, and, it seems that a lot of Muslims are on board with this. Like the feedback we've gotten from Islam for Europeans has been very positive. Um, you know, Muslims have seen that, especially now, that white Muslims are not going to 100% fully fit in Muslim spaces, like at the mosque. And, given the level of animosity towards white people in general, and, even though they're very loving to converts and they want to see us succeed, they're what they have gone through has been completely different than what we're going through. It's almost the complete inverse. So, one of the things that can create this, sense of a positive identity is, the collective struggle itself. And, we always use the term European Muslims. because we don't want to say white, but there is this, it's undeniable that the media is trying to push this race war. Um, but for white Muslims, we're placed in this situation that's kind of just unprecedented in Islamic history, really, because we went from being a majority group, a member of the majority group, to being a minority group within a minority group, living within the majority, right? And add on top of that, now the fact that it's 2020, where we're just thrust right into the middle of this racial conflict. That is going to forge this new identity, because it is a very unique situation. But within that unique situation, we kind of create this common goal. Even like the brothers from the UK, the British brothers, like, even though we're on totally different continents, it's kind of a similar situation, because it's difficult for them to fit in at the mosque. But even at the same time, we have to get allies from where we can, both from the Muslim community, because there are Muslims who are completely on board with this. They want to see it succeed, even if, they're very left wing, and even if they have an animosity towards white people, which is understandable. They want to see us be successful, and they want to, refer other white people who are interested to Islam to us. And within our own family and our own community, even if they're not Muslim, are starting to see the utility in such a group, and thinking, like, we were leery about you converting to Islam because we didn't know what was going to happen with you. You thought you would join some extremist group. And that's another thing I forgot to mention, is that in addition to white people joining militias and civic nationalists and white nationalist groups, even white Muslims, because there's no white Muslim community, a lot of them end up joining like these extremist groups overseas, and they end up having a tragic end. But they're starting to see that, like, this is a good idea. You're still connected with a greater Muslim community. You're still praying with, you're still greeting them, and they're still on your side. But at the same time, you're maintaining your culture. You're eventually might even marry someone of the same background, and then you can keep this going, not just for now, but for generations to come. So we have to get allies from it. But the main point is that we are in a very unique situation that's unprecedented in Muslim history, and I think we should take the positives from that. In that, we're it's kind of like being forged, that like we're this group that we can look up to. It's not going to be easy, but it's not insurmountable. We will get support from both sides of the aisle on this, from people who you thought would never agree on anything. Like the people who have agreed with this concept. If you put them in a room together, it would just be total chaos. These are the same people who are fighting each other on the street, basically, and you're getting them to agree on this very simple concept that is rooted in the Quran and the Sunnah in the early days of Islam, and that is the concept that as a European Muslim, you should keep your identity and your culture, and we become like a member of the greater Muslim community. So that's pretty much about it. And I hope that this starts to gain a lot more steam. I hope that people can see the utility in it, and I hope that we can learn more and more, because I'm just relearning the deen right now, because I was on hiatus for a while, but I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about Islam. And even though, like I said, I'm a layman, 17 years of experience of being a white Muslim, you see why this is needed now more than ever. And we've seen the success of the African American Muslim community and their positive identity, and the Latino Muslim community and their positive identity. And what better time in 2020 that to start the European Muslim sub-community movement. So thank you very much for your time today. My name is Rob, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.